Your Omaha High is being sponsored by Best Buy Signs, creator of the Omaha Parks program, OmahaFastFoods.com, Kohl's Pharmacy and Home Care, Certified Transmission, Centris Federal Credit Union, Shold It, Rotella's Italian Bakery, La Peeps Restaurant, Performance Auto Group, 2 Men and a Truck, Crane Landscape Construction, Shout Weekly, Mid-America Speakers Bureau, Farm Bureau Financial Services, Critter Control. Welcome to Your Omaha High with Andy Greenberg, the show that will leave you feeling great about yourself, Omaha's heroes, and Omaha, where we live, work, and play. So park yourself on the bench and have fun. Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Your Omaha High with Andy Greenberg, the feel-good show about you, the viewer, a wonderful nonprofit organization here in Omaha, Nebraska, and some people who have done some magnificent things for themselves and at the same time brought notoriety to Omaha, Nebraska. You're going to get a chance to meet and learn about music from the musical minds of Chuck Pennington. Chuck, thank you so much for being on the show and being part of Mannheim Steamroller, and Karen Sokolof Javitch, who is a magnificent songwriter. She is a radio talk show host, and they're going to show you what music can do for you, how they make that happen, and how they have sustained their music for basically all time. And one of the things we do here on the show is we introduce you to 4 motivational vignettes that give you an opportunity to get new insights on how to live a very fulfilling and wonderful life. So what do you say? Let's get started. Now, as winter began to approach, how many of us began to plant tulips into the ground? You know, we do that during the fall, and we dig that hole, and we go out and we buy the tulips, and we go out and we get so many different types, and we plant them so meticulously. It's a great family exercise. It is a wonderful thing to do. Then, of course, after we plant them, we water them. And then, of course, it gets covered. It gets covered by the snow. It gets covered by all the debris from the winter. And then finally, the spring comes. And what do? The moment that ground thaws out, we look for that very first little greenery. And then we watch it grow. And then we see those magnificent tulips bloom and develop. It's all about planning, something that we did 6 months ago to create beauty today. Now, what about our lives? When do we begin to plant the bulbs in our lives? Do the same meticulous exercise. Begin to plan our garden or our garden of life and begin to say, now I'm going to dig the hole. Now I'm going to plant the seeds. Because I know in 6 months I do want to flourish. I know it's going to be hard during that time, but you know what? I've got the perseverance to withstand it because I know that when I plan something for my life, it's going to be achieved. But the first thing that I have to do is actually find something that I want to do. So the challenge that I have for everybody right now, I want you to find something that you want to do and accomplish in 6 months. Then I want you to plan for it. I want you to find the seeds. I want you to go ahead and start to cultivate what it's going to look like. And then just sit back. Just sit back for the 6 months. Make that action happen. And begin to imagine the fruits of your labor starting to come up. And then you say to yourself, you know what? There's only one person that did that, and that's me. And I'm so glad that I did. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about champions. What is a champion? Well, a lot of people say champions are people that have opponents, and they do everything that they possibly can to win over each and every opponent. Now, by the way, these opponents are well trained. They are not going to go away. They want that prize. They want that statue. They want that award. They want that fame. And these opponents will, as I mentioned earlier, will do everything that they possibly can to become the winner. But you know what? That's one way of looking at champions. Because I want to focus on the word opponents. Because when you heard that, you were probably thinking of other people. But inside our minds, there are opponents. Inside our minds, there are messages that we get every day that say, you're never going to do that. Oh, come on, don't even try. It's nothing for you. It's for other people. And we let these opponents overtake us. We let them minimize us. We let them put us in last place. And I'm even going to go a step further. We allow these opponents not even to allow us into the game. But you know what a real champion does? A real champion overcomes each and every one of these opponents. You've done it in sports. You've done it in business. You've gotten rid of them. The challenge now is for each and every one of us to identify those opponents in our minds that are preventing us of getting into the game, and if we're in the game, preventing us from doing and being our best always. Because once, just once, when you get rid of those opponents, all of a sudden, you know who's going to be the champion. You know who's going to be the one that's going to live their destiny. There's only one. That person, you can answer it, is you. Now, many times people go out and they purchase an automobile. It could be used, it could be new, it doesn't matter. And what's in that glove compartment? In that glove compartment is the famous automobile manual. And I can almost guarantee you that just about anybody who's purchased a car, new or used, insisted that that car have the manual. And you drive home, you look at that manual, and then you place it away, and you say to yourself, all right, I know it's there. But here's the question. How many of us have actually read that automobile manual? If you did, you'll discover something very interesting. There are accessories in your car and ways in your automobile to make your drive safer, to help you reduce fuel consumption, to make your drive even more comfortable. All you have to do is read the manual. And we don't read the manual because in our lives, we sometimes forget or ignore or intentionally on purpose don't read the manual of life. There are so many different instructions that are available to us either on the web, in books, in seminars, just by having coaches, just by knowing people who will take us for who we are and teach us how to expand, teach us how to get more out of who we are, teach us how to take our skills and our talents and make them even more productive. And once we get into the method, once we get into the habit of taking out that automobile manual, once we get into that habit, the rest of it becomes easier. So what I'd like you to do is to pretend that you are an automobile. I want you to find the manual that will make you better. I want you to find people that will help you. I want you to identify 5 different things that you can do, that you will do, by simply going to a seminar, reading a book, going on the internet, and taking who you are and bringing it to the next level. And by the way, you know, each and every one of us, we do have something that we carry around, and that is a wart. I guarantee you, every one of us has a wart. Now, it might not be on our skin, because where those warts reside, once again, they're in our head. How many times have you worried about something that you really shouldn't have worried about? How many times have you let your imagination conjure up failure, conjure up something that in your mind you might be saying, it's not going to work? You know what that's called? Worrying. It's also using your imagination. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment you on vacation. I want you to take that imagination, think about the beach, think about diving, think about anything that you like to do. And all of a sudden, what's going to happen? That imagination is working positively. So when you begin to worry, and by the way, when you do, that's where the wart comes in because you're a worry wart. When you begin to worry, that's your imagination being negative. Just stop. You've just learned that you can take your imagination and do something positive, eradicate that wart, and turn your imagination into something powerful that generates achievement and success for you. At this time each and every week, we talk about a nonprofit organization. And this week, we're going to be talking about Completely Kids. Listen carefully. Completely Kids ensures that families have access to the knowledge and skills necessary to break the evil cycle of poverty. It's their mission to educate and empower kids and families to create a safe, healthy, successful, and connected community. In supporting the Completely Kids mission, they assist more than 2,000 youth in preschool through middle school and their families via school and homeless shelter partnerships in overcoming barriers to their success. They do a magnificent job because research shows that growing up in poverty can have a significant impact on a child's cognitive development, emotional well-being, and physical health, thus impacting their ability to be successful. Completely Kids has consistently seen the impacts of poverty in the lives of the family it works with and has developed programs and components to specifically address each area of need. They talk about a safe environment. They teach kids and families about nutrition, healthy choices. They offer enrichment activities that reinforce key academic concepts. Please remember Completely Kids as they continue to create a community for kids and families right here in Omaha, Nebraska. And now we have the opportunity to understand music. Now, how many of us listen to the radio? How many of us have CDs? How many of us have allowed music to come into our lives and have an emotional bond with that music? Well, you know what? It doesn't happen by accident. It takes professionals to arrange the music, to write the lyrics, to create the melodies. And in Omaha, Nebraska, we've got two of the best. I'd like you to meet Mr. Chuck Pennington from Mannheim Steamroller.
How do you do, Andy?
And Karen Sokolof Javitch, who herself is an acclaimed songwriter. She's written musicals, but we're going to find out a lot more. So kind of tune in because this one is for you. So you guys are established people in the United States, here in Omaha, Nebraska, in the field of music. Question, when did you realize that music is your passion? When did it consume you?
Well, my mother insisted that I start to take piano lessons at age 6.
Okay. I'm going to pause you for a moment.
Sure.
You know why I'm pausing? You know how many parents go to their kids and say, hey, I want you to take piano lessons. I want you to do this. And the kids begrudging, oh, Mom, Dad, do I have to? Listen to this. So go ahead, Chuck.
Well, so she took me to my father's sister, who was a really accomplished pianist.
Right.
It did not work out at all.
Didn't like it.
No.
You rebelled.
So my mother decided, well, maybe if I would be his teacher.
Right.
That also did not work out.
Okay.
No.
2 failures, by the way. Never quit. Go ahead.
And I'm still 6 years old.
Okay. It's got to be traumatic.
So she decided that I should visit this woman named Isabel Misek in Columbus, Nebraska, a fabulous teacher who had a great reputation. She looked at my hands, she said, I think that little finger's a little too short.
Oh boy.
But maybe we'll take a chance on you.
That's got to be something encouraging. Maybe we'll take a chance on you. Not only that, but she recognized something that physically might impair this person from even being successful.
Yeah, that's right.
All
that's
right.
what she was looking for.
Yeah.
But I studied with her clear through high school.
Right.
And she was just absolutely wonderful. And then during the interim there, I guess,
you got the passion for it.
I really decided that
Sure.
This is really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I remember I wanted to be a conductor.
Okay.
And so I think I was a freshman in high school. I was given a scholarship to a thing called All State. It was a music camp at the university in the summertime, 3 weeks. And I was walking down the street, and there was a music store, and I saw a book on conducting in the window.
And you picked
and
it
I
up,
went in.
and that's it.
I didn't buy it, but I read
you
it.
didn't buy, oh, you really didn't buy it. Okay, so he doesn't buy it and he reads through it.
But I went home
Yeah.
and I made myself a baton.
Ooh, all right. So you didn't go out and buy the baton.
No.
So you didn't buy the book, but you read it. You didn't buy the baton,
Right.
so you made it.
Because in this book, it described what a proper baton should be. you know?
Right.
And it's really
gotta be.
interesting. You think about these things, that little nexus moments
Oh,
in
sure.
your life,
Yep.
that kind of trigger you and send you forward.
Absolutely. Now, Karen, what about you? When did you realize that passion is part of your life, that music becomes a passion in your life?
Well, I grew up in a very musical family.
Okay.
My father was actually raised to be an entertainer, a singer, guitar player, and dancer, and my mom played the piano. And we listened to a lot of Frank Sinatra and all that. And so when I got to college, I wanted to write songs, but I really didn't have a venue to put the songs in. And I could write them, but it wasn't until my kids were really in elementary school that someone came to me, gave me a musical, but it was a blank where the songs were.
Right.
And I said, Jim, can I try this? So I sat down at the piano, and there 17 songs came out rather quickly.
Just like that.
Fortunately, I met Mr. Chuck
who's your arranger,
Pennington, right?
and took your concepts and arranged them
gosh,
into
yeah.
some wonderful musical masterpieces. I think that's absolutely fantastic. There's a lesson for each and every one of us to learn here, because the story that they're telling is family influence plus signs that came to them, signs that they were looking for and actually noticed and said, you know what, I want to be a conductor. There's a book. I'm going to create my own baton. There is a way to do it. Hey, I'm going to create some musicals. Oops, 17 musicals, or 17 pieces of music, I should say, just like that. So it's your passion. Everybody remembers their first. So Chuck,
my first,
your first musical performance, yes.
Oh I think my first musical performances were probably rather pathetic, but I do remember my first song.
Okay.
My piano teacher noticed that I came to my piano lesson and was playing a song. And he said, what's that? And I said, well, I just wrote that.
Yeah.
You know, I was 7 years old at the time.
7 years old at the time.
And it was a waltz.
Uh-huh. A waltz? I'm surprised even 7-year-olds know what a waltz is.
My first, I don't think I did, but I knew, but I knew how to do it.
Right.
And so yeah, that was my first composition, and it was you know, you talk about these moments that
profound moments.
I was about to have a brother.
I see.
And in the next short
few
period
months,
of time,
right?
yes. Mm-hmm. And so I wrote this song for the new baby.
That's got to be so emotional. And we're going to talk about the emotions about music in a moment. But I'm going to ask Karen now, not necessarily the first song you wrote, but tell me something about the first performance. And I'm going to ask you the same question. The first performance, what was that like? Were you nervous? Were you anxious? Did you have that self-confidence?
Well, Jim Conant and I did the musical Love at the Cafe, and it was at the Diner Theater, 66th and Maple. And we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, okay, we're going to write a musical. Right. Okay. It was unbelievable, though. Yeah, it's like unbelievable because you start out with nothing, and then all of a sudden you have a song, you have 2 songs, you have a script, and then people act it out and people sing your songs. It's an unbelievable feeling, isn't it, Chuck?
Yes.
Yeah, and that it is unbelievable. And your first performance, I don't want to hear about your writing. I want to hear about your performance, because you right now perform all around the country, international. But I want to know that first one. How old were you? How'd you feel?
Well, I was probably back there when I was 6 years old, and all I remember, I don't remember that one, but I do remember all of them in general.
Right.
And I was scared spitless.
But you went ahead with it anyway.
Yes, and I don't think that I was ever really very well prepared for any of them.
Anything that followed.
And they were just terrifying.
Okay, but you went ahead and did it.
Yes.
And that's a lesson for each and every one of us. Many times we are so terrified, so scared. Remember we talked about the worry wart? But these individuals overcame that. That's why they became champions of what they do. They have the passion. They overcame it. Now, I know in life there's a lot of things you're scared to do. Listen carefully. Just forget about it. Yes, so what? Get out there and just go ahead and do it. Let's change it a little bit and talk about the role of music. What does music do for people? Why do they listen to it? What's the role of music?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I don't know if it's exactly the same for every person, but with the Steamroller we play every year 50 concerts, and the theaters are always full.
Would you say that there's an emotional attachment?
These people have come, they've spent good money to become entertained, I suppose, but I think it's a matter of something that reaches them in an indescribable place.
All right.
That they know they had it once, and then it's coming, and we can get it live. Maybe we can get it even better.
Sure. Sure. So there's something that makes them feel good. It puts them in a good zone, an emotional zone. Maybe they get rid of their problems, or maybe they just go there to enjoy themselves. Karen, from your point of view, what's the role of music?
I think it's to touch your heart.
Touch your heart.
Yeah, it's to make you feel certain things that you want to feel. Sometimes you don't want to feel. When you listen to a song, you start crying with the song.
Sure.
But No, and I want to say with Mannheim Steamroller, I mean, people go back every year to see you over and over again, Chuck. So, well, I mean, not you specifically, but no, I mean, your whole
Well, maybe they do.
The whole group, because the music. Now, when you write music, when you write a musical, you write it with the listener in mind. You try and get them to feel the heart. You try and get them to feel the emotion. And I think that's one of the reasons why your topical music is as popular as it is. Because you basically, if I understand correctly, you'll see a news event, you'll see a person, and then all of a sudden that creativeness comes to you that will invoke some kind of a heart feeling. And I understand, I don't want you to reveal too much, but Bill Clinton comes into the picture a little bit.
Well, that's one of my funny songs. Okay. You know, I was at a fundraiser for him at somebody's home, and went to meet him, and I know that he flirted with me. He definitely, but that's not necessarily a compliment. You know, because he flirted with every woman, I think.
All right. All right.
But anyway, he put me on such a high, and I was so excited that, of course, I went home and wrote a song about it called He Flirted With Me.
There you go. Did you ever send it to him?
I never have.
Okay. Now,
in fact, I've never sang it in public
now, if Hillary decides to run, will you publicize it? I don't know if you want to answer that question.
I don't want to answer that.
Now, Chuck, from your perspective, Mannheim Steamroller, years and years and years of music. How is it that you and your team have been able to sustain that kind of power where your name is a brand? You have these Christmas concerts, people from all over the United States and Canada go there. How do you sustain that all these years?
Well, this Christmas, Chip Davis, of course, has written lots of music, 40 years worth of writing music, and 30 years. This is our 30th Christmas tour.
Excellent.
And I think that the success of that, really, you just have to kind of take it back to the composer himself. He has created a very unusual style, a way of thinking outside the box on what a song should be like, and really changed music.
That's excellent.
In a big way, and people recognize that, and they like to be a part of it, and they keep coming back to the concerts.
And it's a generational too, so 30 years ago, almost like the oldies from these days, people grew up with it and they want their kids to be exposed to the same thing.
Our audiences in Mannheim Steamroller are little kids that the families bring, and their grandparents.
And you touch them.
You know, I mean, it's all the whole spectrum.
All right here from Omaha, Nebraska. I think that's fantastic. Now, Karen, when you write topical music, you also use it to raise funds for charitable organizations that you believe in. And if I remember correctly, you have raised through your music over $350,000.
Yeah.
That hits the heart.
Well, I've been
emotional.
lucky enough to do that. One of the musicals that has raised money is a musical about Princess Diana.
Yes.
Which I sat, when she died, I just loved her. And I sat down and wrote a lot of songs not knowing I'd put them into a musical. And, you know, there were like, I had about 60 songs. And I approached Elaine Jabenis,
who's been a guest on the show, right?
With me. And then we approached Chuck, who then arranged my songs, and somehow it became a musical. But yeah, I loved giving to her charities.
And not only that, but you have had music in 3 different movies, and you've had, that's both of you because you arranged it, and 2 television shows. One which was a military telethon from last year, and a new kids show, which is Aunt Molly's. And that's going to be an absolutely wonderful thing. And you know what the other thing is? You have one CD called Movin' to the Beat. And Movin' to the Beat is a nutritional workout song for kids. And just recently, Karen donated 200 CDs to Completely Kids, who you heard about earlier, which I think is just amazing and continues the legacy that each and every one of you have been building on. But that's music today. What does music look like in the future?
Well, yeah, that music, popular music, if we're talking about that, changing all the time, that's just always been the case.
Right.
Popular music is always changing. Except, I think it started something like 30 years ago with technology coming in, with the advent of computers and the ability to store musical sounds within computers and so forth. And this process made composing music much more accessible to many people. And this whole thing, I think, had a really kind of a deleterious effect on music. I think it took it from starting like Karen does, you know, with a lyric and a melody,
sure,
and letting melody really reach the heart, into the area of let's take this little piece and put it together with this little piece and this little piece,
sure,
you know, and make a song.
And make a song out of it.
Yeah.
So it loses a little bit of its connection. I think they're getting too involved with the technology of music than some of the basics that we talked about earlier. And the thing that I love about the music that you guys do, and I know I'm not alone, is at least when I hear your music, I can hear and understand the words. In a lot of today's music, you absolutely lose it. You lose that attachment. But on the other hand, there's an absolute audience for that. So if there was one thing that you would like our viewers to remember from this interview, just one thing, what would it be, Chuck?
Well, if you want to write a song, I think let the words and the music meld themselves together in your head.
Right, right. Good point.
And
Good point.
And either write it down somehow or sing it into a recorder. Let it come out of the whole person.
Sure.
And so that it's a unity thing rather than just sticking together little pieces.
And have fun with it. And the flow. Karen, what's one of the things?
I think if you have something artistically that you love to do, do it.
Yep.
Don't worry that it's going to fail, that someone's not going to like it. You know you're going to like it. Just do it for yourself, and then other people will like it.
That is music to my ears, and I know it's music to the ears of everybody who has just heard this wonderful interview about how to take your passion, how to take life signals, how to take everything that you want to do and make it into something terrific. That's your Omaha High for this week. Next week's Omaha High, we will feature Marty Cordero, the general manager and president of the Omaha Storm Chasers. We'll see you next week on your Omaha High. Your Omaha High was sponsored by Best Buy Signs, creator of the Omaha Parks program, OmahaFastFoods.com, Kohl's Pharmacy and Home Care, Certified Transmission, Centris Federal Credit Union, Shold-It, Rotella's Italian Bakery, La Peeps Restaurant, Performance Auto Group, 2 Men and a Truck, Crane Landscape Construction, Shout Weekly, Mid-America Speakers Bureau, Farm Bureau Financial Services, Critter Control,